criticizing what
No,
he did. You're saying that
no, I'm not.
nothing should be done about what he did.
What are you going? What I'm saying is, what are you going to do? Are you going to?
All right.
Y'all want to put more
I
restrictions on
I
people?
I I I gotta go. I gotta go because I got a guest coming on, and this is just an ongoing, endless, infinite debate. All right. Uh, Joining us now, from the Moscow Project, Max Bergmann. Max, how are you today, man?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but doing well. How about you?
I'm just fine. So, Max, in terms of the Moscow Project and what you all are looking at, are you encouraged, comforted, um, uh, glad that the Democrats have taken the House and maybe can lead to, and that can lead to some more serious investigation?
Yeah, I'm very hopeful that that will lead to more serious investigation. I think, like, look, what if Democrats hadn't taken back the Senate, we would or taken back the House, it would have been essentially a blank check for Trump to end the investigation. Instead, what he's tried to do is this sort of tried to mask his effort to end the investigation by firing Sessions and appointing essentially a political hack to be Attorney General. But if this had been a good night for Republicans, he would have just ended the pretense and just fired Mueller himself directly, and that still may happen. But now, at the very least, we know that even if he does that, even if he takes that action, Democrats will have the ability to take action. They'll have the ability to open up the investigation. And to do what the Republican Congress wouldn't do and hold them accountable, and look into both the abuse of power as well as subpoena evidence and records and other things that Mueller hasn't covered, so they can then determine what actually happened in 2016.
Do you believe that him forcing out Sessions is another act of obstruction and putting in
Uh,
Whitaker? I really should say putting in Whitaker because Sessions was recused, but is putting in Whitaker, in your opinion, another act of obstruction?
Yeah, so the firing of Sessions, the president can fire his attorney general, but there's a DOJ, a Department of Justice line of succession. It's a reason why you have people that are the number two, the deputy, the number three, the solicitor general, and that all those people are confirmed by the Senate to be in their position.
Right.
So when you have, and so the obstruction here is the going around the Constitution, going around the separation of powers, and going around the Senate by just appointing some random political hack. Frankly, when I was in the State Department, if there's a number two, there's a number three, there's a number four, a number five, and if they had, suddenly Secretary Kerry was forced out, and they just put me as Secretary of State, that would be unacceptable. That would be a travesty. You have people in the positions to take over power, and they're put there and confirmed by the Senate in the understanding that they may take over those roles.
Right, and they've already been vetted under the advice and consent template of the Senate. So now some are saying it's actually illegal to do it the way in which he's done it.
I think it's definitely illegal. I think this is completely an unconstitutional step for a couple of reasons. One, because Sessions was fired. Now they may try to insist, oh no, he resigned, but when you're forced to resign, you're fired. And so if you're so the whole point of the Vacancies Reform Act was that, well, let's say like everybody resigns in protest to some policy, the top 5 or 6 people in an agency. Well, then you need to have someone take over, and so you could appoint someone. But that's not what happened here.
Right.
What happened here was an effort to obstruct investigation by putting a political crony, a political hack, going around the Senate. And it's a clear, just looking at the guy's statements and his op-ed and his appearances on television, this is an effort to end the investigation and put himself above the law.
Max Bergmann with us, folks, at the Moscow Project, the moscowproject.org, 866-99-SERIOUS. Quick questions. Max, Trump is so dumb. He didn't even bother to say to Jeff Sessions to take the first line out of the letter, because the first line of the letter reads, "Per your request, here's my resignation." Now, I mean, that makes it, that's as transparent as all. And,
Yeah.
you know, they took the letter and they said, wait a minute, let's delete that sentence out. Or better yet, they do other stuff like doctor videos of Jim Acosta. Why didn't you just cut and paste out that first line? But the Sessions wrote that he was fired. That's what it, when you say, per your request, here is my resignation, you were fired. That's a fact. Okay, so you all have at themoscowproject.org, I want to walk through these, a list of 10 things the new House majority can do for the Russia investigation. So come on, man, let's walk through these. Number one, bring back witnesses. Expound.
Yeah. So, the House Intelligence Committee brought witnesses forward. But what was clear is that if people lied to the committee, if people didn't disclose information, didn't disclose certain documents, that they weren't going to be subpoenaed. And so you need to bring back witnesses and have actually real questions under the threat of prosecution if they were to lie to Congress.
Yeah. Now, I would just add a friendly amendment to your 10 that really is, maybe it's not an 11th one, but I think just kind of overarches over all of them. Public hearings with these people.
Exactly.
Because honestly, Max, see, that's what made the difference in Watergate. I know you too young to have seen that. And for purposes of this conversation, I am too. But when I saw it, that was the impact of it. People saw people step forward, and so I would just add a friendly amendment to that. Public, televised, C-SPAN, all that. You would agree, correct?
Oh, 100%. That is actually, I think, an essential component. And one of the smart things that Republicans did in both the Senate and the House is they put this in the Intel Committee, and then, which is more secretive, they have classified hearings behind closed doors, and made everything not in front of the eyes of the public. And the result of that is that, for those people like me who've been just tracking literally everything in this investigation, reading the 1,000 pages of testimony that every once in a while gets released, that it's clear what happened because I've been tracking it. But if it's not, but by not having the witnesses appear in public, by not having the public see it, has meant everyone's sort of confused about what happened. Everyone thinks that what happened is really uncertain. And let's just also be clear about part of the reason why the president, is taking a step to fire Mueller and why he's acting guilty. It's because he's clearly guilty.
Yeah, right.
He was clearly involved in this Russian conspiracy against the United States to interfere in the election. He's clearly complicit in it. In fact, at the center of it. And that comes across when you read these witness testimonies. So having people testify in public is absolutely critical.
Number two, call key witnesses who haven't yet testified before Congress or gave incomplete testimony. Manafort, Flynn, Papadopoulos, Maria Butina. 3, I love this one. Find out who was behind the block number that Trump Jr. called while he was planning the June meeting. That's kind of rhetorical then. I think we know whose number that was, don't we?
We totally know. And just for your listeners, when the now infamous June 9th meeting, and let's be clear, part of the reason we know there was collusion is because Don Jr. put the emails of collusion up on the internet when the New York Times uncovered them, and that was when a Russian government lawyer said, "Hey, as part of our collusion campaign, we want to meet with you, and we have all this dirt on Hillary Clinton." And the response is, "If it is what you say, I love it." Then what does Don Jr. do? He calls a block number. We know Trump has a block number. We know then Trump tweets out that says, "Hey, after this meeting, that basically the day after this meeting, he's going to hold a big press conference where he unveils all this dirt on Hillary Clinton."
Yeah,
he was clearly in on it.
Number 4, have the Trump Organization turn over its documents related to the failed attempt to develop Trump Tower, Moscow, during the campaign. Number 5, determine whether National Security Advisor Michael Flynn resigned because he lied to Vice President Mike Pence about his contacts with Russia, or whether his underlying conduct in his phone calls with the Russian ambassador created an untenable situation. Number 6, request intelligence intercepts between Eric Prince and other attendees of the January 27 meeting in the Seychelles. Number 7, obtain financial records from organizations that may have received support from Russia as part of its engagement in the 2016 election, including the National Rifle Association. Number 8, investigate apparent conflicts of interest Kushner's real estate holdings create. Number 9, demand all information and documents related to Trump's closed-door meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Helsinki. And number 10, and perhaps the biggest step of all, subpoena President Donald Trump's tax returns. One other friendly amendment, though, Max.
Sure.
What day of the week is tomorrow?
Tomorrow is Saturday.
Okay, and there's something called Saturday night. It is a day. So if I were them, the Democrats, I'd get to Mueller today and exchange documents and information today. All right, with the promise that if he is fired on Saturday night, that the House Judiciary Committee will then retain his services.
I think that's a good a good plan. I do think that Mueller, this one thing that we should be somewhat hopeful about is that unlike during Watergate, where this was sort of unprecedented, Mueller kind of knows what Trump was up to because Trump has been tweeting it. Trump's been attacking him. So I think the preservation of records, the preservation of documents, I think that I hope is pretty much guaranteed. And it's a good sign that Democrats, right after the election, immediately sent letters saying that they need to preserve all records to the Justice Department.
Right.
So I think the big question, look, today could be, Friday has been Mueller time, and
it's right. Friday.
And and
Trump,
we know from
Trump clenches his cheeks every Friday, y'all.
and we know from reporting that Donald Trump Jr. Thinks he's going to be indicted.
Yeah, I know.
This week.
I know. So y'all get ready today. Something might happen today.
I didn't make any plans.
Hey Max, if I can make another suggestion, I'll give you an assignment. I don't mean to put any more on your plate in terms of writing. You ought to do a side-by-side parallel between Whitaker and John Mitchell. Okay?
Yeah.
Just put them both side by side and show the intersection. Thank you, man. TheMoscowProject.org. Thank you, Max.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Enjoy your weekend. If all minds are clear, it has been made plain.